guys, today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Watch Out, These 9 Things Offend French People. So I'm a little scared to watch this. I don't know, obviously my intention has never been to like offend anyone, and it will never be to offend anyone. I mean, I think most people have that train of thought. So it's like, okay, well, obviously no one wants to willingly do this. So in a way, it's like, well, good thing that this video exists, because now you know if you ever find yourself in France what things not to do. But it's like these 9 things, which I find a little bit like, it's a lot of things, like 9 things, so it's a lot. But I'm wondering if French people are kind of like the kind of culture. And again, I know that I'm generalizing, each person is going to be different. But I'm wondering if as a culture, they're usually the kind of people that will tell you things right to your face. Like, hey, what you did was not cool. Like, this was offensive. Or they're just going to give you the cold shoulder and you're going to be left wondering like, hey, how come I didn't make any friends or something of the sort. But I don't know. So let's check it out.
Bonjour tout le monde! Welcome back to We in France. I'm Diane, and maybe this year you're heading to France on a vacation, or maybe you're already here like me and you want to blend in with the locals. Well, whatever the case, I want to save you from majorly embarrassing yourself, because trust me,
yes,
there are a few surefire ways that will offend the French faster than you could even buy a baguette. So I want to jump right into it. And let me say up front, I just want to point out one thing. The level of offense in what I'm going to talk about here today, it depends on the person. There's always nuance. It depends on someone's upbringing, their class, the context of the situation.
Blanket.
Some French people are just going to brush these things off like they're no big deal, maybe laugh, maybe not even care. Some people might be a little slightly annoyed, and others might be deeply bothered by what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
Not everyone's the same.
And they'll let you know.
If you're sitting with your friend somewhere, you might be offended by what someone does in your home country, but your friend might not even care. So that's all to say, it depends.
It's nuance.
I don't want anyone to walk away from this video thinking you need to tiptoe around French people and they're all
okay,
delicate little flowers that are always going to be offended by everything a foreigner does. That is not the case. So that is not the takeaway. So there's nuance. Okay. So with that, we're going to get right into number 1. If you insult their food or their way of preparing
that's
food.
Not just French,
food
everyone.
Culture in France, it's like a religion. So chefs and service staff, they take pride in their work, and they're going to treat food and meals with respect. It's serious. And because of this, they might take it personally if you deliver any criticism. So if you don't like a certain type of food, or you don't particularly care for how something was prepared,
just
be tactful in how you go about expressing that, if you even choose to express it at all. Remember, you're a guest here. All right, number 2, if you show up to dinner at a pretty nice restaurant in athletic attire. Now, in the US, depending on the company you keep and where you live, you could get away with going to dinner in super casual clothes. I know where my family lives in Florida, shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops, totally fine. You see people in cooler climates wearing a hoodie and leggings to really casual restaurants in the US. But in France, especially in bigger cities, people tend to dress up for the occasion.
I love this.
Elevated casual at a minimum, depending on the restaurant. They dress up maybe a little more than what the average American might be used to. And a good rule of thumb is gym clothes are pretty much a no-go.
For the gym.
Gym clothes, like your old sneakers and sweaty clothes,
for the gym.
whatever, that's just for the gym. It's not a fashion statement. Overall, I'd say French people generally associate how they present themselves with having self-respect. So showing up to dinner in yoga pants and old sneakers is basically communicating that you don't respect yourself or your hosts enough to show up in a proper outfit. So keep that in mind. And of course, I want to point out that French people do wear sneakers and t-shirts and other more casual looks, but just not out to eat at a nice restaurant or to a dinner party. And if you're curious about what the French wear, if you want to fit in here, I have a blog post I'm going to link below over on weinfrance.com just about how to dress in France if you're curious. So check that out. All right, number 3, if you bring a bouquet of chrysanthemums to a dinner party,
you're bringing a bouquet of flowers
in French. Now, you're going to see these all over florists. Colorful bouquets of chrysanthemums, potted ones, all kinds at florists in France, especially around the fall holiday called Toussaint. That's around Halloween. And no matter how pretty they are,
sensei.
no matter how tempted you are to buy them, do not, I repeat, do not buy them
why?
to bring as a hostess gift to a dinner party
Is
or
it
a
those
housewarming
flowers
gift for
or
a friend or
bouquet?
anything like that. It's most definitely a faux pas. Mums are for funerals and to put on gravestones at the cemetery.
Okay.
That is it. So if you're not paying respects to someone who's passed on, skip
makes
the mums.
sense.
Now, something else that's offensive is when we're online and we get hit with malware, data theft, and scams. Well, I have a solution that's going to keep your web browsing experience safe and stress-free. Let me introduce you to NordVPN, the sponsor of my video that you'll definitely want to check out via my link below, nordvpn.com/weinfrance. Their virtual private network, VPN, helps you stay safe online, whether you're home or abroad, especially when you're out using public Wi-Fi networks. Now, you'll be protected from malware, from hackers, your data is going to stay private, and your online activity will not be tracked. NordVPN basically tells the internet to mind its own business, and you can browse the web without worrying about prying eyes, annoying geo restrictions, or just that creepy feeling of being constantly watched. It's a standout product. They even have a feature called Threat Protection Pro that will protect you from fake web stores when you're shopping that are out looking to scam you. So you can just think of NordVPN as a fence for the internet that keeps you safe by encrypting your internet traffic and protecting your data and online identity. Just download the app, which looks like this, and browse safely and privately with the fastest VPN on the planet. One account is going to protect up to 10 devices, and NordVPN offers 24/7 customer support. So to start browsing safely now, risk-free, get my exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 months extra on a 2-year plan. Again, with my link, nordvpn.com/weinfrance. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And now let's get back to the video. Okay, number 4, speaking too loudly out in public. Now, Americans
I'm guilty
and
of
other
this.
nationalities, I don't want to finger point, we're not the only ones. We have a reputation for being loud. Now, you can only spot the American tourist because you can hear them from across the restaurant. I've been there. I know you have too. And
that's
the French, I'd say
embarrassing.
they tend to be a little more discreet and
They're
keep
quiet.
those volume levels a little bit lower than we might be used to. So if you're an excitable kind of talker, you're a loud talker, that's just something to be aware of. You might want to try to speak a little quieter in French just so you don't call attention to yourself and disturb the people around you. So if someone across the room can hear your private conversation or you're turning heads from
that's
across
rude.
the street with your
Yeah.
headphones in because you're on the phone and pretty animated and other people are hearing you, that's a sign to take it down a notch. All right, next, telling someone to smile.
But that's
And this would happen
annoying.
to me in New York
In
City
France
back when
and
I lived there.
everywhere.
I'd walk down the street, just deep in thought,
Don't tell
getting ready
that
for
to
the day,
people.
just walking alone, and my default neutral face was blank. I
course, like a
don't,
normal
and I didn't
person.
then walk down the street with a big toothy grin just for the heck of it, and sometimes construction workers would shout and be like, "Hey,
Oh, but they're
smile."
catcalling
I hear
you.
People say
Yeah.
this to others in the U.S. Always men saying it to women. I'll add.
Yes.
And you might think it's like a harmless thing to say, telling someone
annoying.
to
Do not
smile.
do that.
But I've always found it really annoying that in the U.S., some of us just wear stress or concern or just a blank expression on our face when we're just alone walking down the street.
Yeah,
And
it's
covering
normal.
that with a fake smile just to please others, I don't think is always a good thing. But anyway,
It isn't.
I've never heard of this in France. I've never been told to smile.
they don't
in
have
France.
cat
And
collars
if you do that
there?
to a French person, they might find it really annoying or even confusing just to,
Love it. Confusing,
smile
yes.
for the sake of it. And it turns out in some countries, a smile is earned. It's not freely given. And the default
Oh my God,
face
I
in
love
France
that. It's
isn't a
earned.
fake plastered on smile just to put on so others around you
That's
are
incredible.
at ease. It's just not the same here. Next, walking right up to someone and immediately start speaking English. Now, I see
because
this
you-
all the time here in
Yeah,
France.
don't
in
assume people
touristy
speak
places
English.
When foreigners of all nationalities approach French people without any effort, without even a bonjour, nothing. And I remember back in New York City, back in the day, I would be approached by tourists pretty frequently. I lived down by the stock exchange, tons of tourists. They didn't speak English and no hello, nothing. And they just started talking to me in their native language, just
Hoping you would
I would
understand.
understand. And at the very least, it was awkward.
No.
In France,
course.
it's kind of offensive.
Okay,
so
don't
don't do
offensive.
this in English to French people. And I'll say, yes, people who work in tourism, they'll have at least a conversational
everyone,
level
obviously.
of English to do their jobs, of course. But don't take it for granted. Now, if you do go up to someone and you immediately start speaking English, it's going to automatically turn them off it's going to come across as
you.
entitled, and that's just not how you want to be. No one expects tourists to speak perfect French or even speak conversational French. 99% of tourists do not speak any
French.
French.
Did you have to try?
Basic common courtesy goes a long way. Everyone can learn a few words. If you learn one, make sure it's bonjour, hello. They are appreciated.
Classic.
I've talked about that 100 times. I have an entire video on why you should never
probably
skip that
English, something of the
obligatory
sort, I would
so
assume.
I won't repeat it here. Watch the video. You always want to start with bonjour and then ask, does someone speak English? Instead of assuming that they do. And you could say, parlez-vous anglais? Parlez-vous anglais? And if they do speak English, they'll tell you. If not, do your best. But remember,
get the translate app.
Always. Next, filming people or their wares without asking first. Now,
you shouldn't film people, strangers in general.
Pretty commonplace these days, and snapping pictures.
But you shouldn't.
About it's pretty normal, but just be careful if you're going to take pictures of people. I had an experience which I told you about in one of my recent videos about my worst ever experience in France. So watch that video. I'll put it up
what
here.
Happened?
But something else, when I was at a farmer's market a few years ago in public, outdoors, it was in a parking lot, right? So not private property. I took a photo of beautiful paella and rotisserie chickens that a vendor had. The woman working there was actually not even in view. It wasn't even crowded. I took a picture of the food without asking because there was no one to ask. And the woman scolded me. She came out of nowhere. I wasn't taking a picture of her, but she scolded me saying, "Oh, madame, you have to ask before you take a picture." I'm like,
of the food?
You weren't even here.
So when in doubt, always ask before you photograph or video anything, just to be on the safe side. And that goes double, triple with people. All right, next,
that's a no-no.
flaunting your money and acting showy. Now, in France, French people love to hate the rich. They really do. And when it comes to Americans specifically, they feel, I would say that money creates this sense of entitlement. And I know you've seen it because I've seen it. You see tourists acting like they own the place. And
because they have money.
And then when the French don't bend over backwards to them, maybe like the treatment they're used to back home, and instead they're treated like any other French person, regardless of their wealth, they feel slighted, like they aren't special, and then the French get
you just have more money
rude or unfriendly. Now in France, having a lot of money is seen as suspicious, and if you're going to be showy and flaunt it, that's even worse, you know? And just something to keep in mind is there are two things money can't buy: class and respect. So be discreet.
And manners.
That's a theme here. Next, immediately coming on strong with personal questions. Things like what you do for a living, how much money you make. Just
what you do for a living is just like a normal question.
If you don't know someone well or at all, don't delve into their personal life. You know, small talk, I've talked about it a lot.
Isn't that small talk?
In France. You can watch a whole video about it here.
It's different.
It's nuanced, as I always say. So just be careful with the personal questions. And to wrap this up, if you want more tips and advice for an upcoming trip to France this year, I have an e-guide you can buy or give to someone as a gift, and it helps support the channel. So if you like what I do, check it out. It covers all kinds of practical tips for tourists on dining out, culture, language, money, that sort of thing. And it is called 75 Beginner France Travel Tips for a Standout Trip, and it is linked down below in the description. So with that, I'm going to leave it here for today. Thank you for watching, as always, and see you back on We in France soon. Salut!
Okay, so this was very interesting. I have to say, some of these things I think are just like good sort of rules of thumb, not just in France, but for life in general. Like, I think, for instance, like the one that I'm stuck on is the one about the cat collars, like people telling others to like smile, like strangers. It's like, don't do that. Like, that's just rude. Like, it's rude in the USA. It's rude in France. It's rude in, I think, most places in the world, because it's like, come on, like, do not. And she's right, actually. Like, it's like, it's constantly, I don't know why, it's just like construction workers. It tends to be like cat collars. But again, it's like, don't tell strangers to smile. You never know, like, what that person is going through. Like, because as a rule of thumb, you don't really know what other people, strangers have going on in their lives. So asking strangers to like, hey, smile, it's like, why would you do that? Like, it's not your business. You don't know, maybe that person's going through a rough time, like they had like a rough day, or maybe they're super happy, but they don't really owe you a smile. So why would you do that? I love what she said, something of the sort of like, a smile a smile is not, it's not a given, it's earned. I'm like, okay, that I love that. I think that's so nice. I didn't know. Apparently, like, France is one of those places. But again, I think as culture, as a human beings, I think we should all probably like move towards that kind of thinking. I love that. It's like, yes, smiles should be actually genuine. Like, you shouldn't just smile for the sake of it. Like, you should actually, when you're smiling, it should be, again, because something makes you laugh or something makes you happy. So it is, you know what, it's a good thing to have like in mind. The other ones are like flaunting money and like sounding like very entitled. I think, again, like, I'm trying to think, I don't want to be rude, but I think, again, it's not always, but I think a lot of it, it happens like in the United States. Well, Americans in general, sometimes they do tend to do that. Like, when they travel abroad, they assume that because they have more money, or I don't know, because not necessarily they're actually like rich, they just like have more money to spend. They just assume that they should, like, you know, people should bend to their will, or they should adjust like how they do things for them. When it should be, no, you should be respectful because you're the one visiting like this place. And when you're visiting, when you're a tourist, you're not actually there. You know, you should be more mindful of course, like, if that's not allowed, if that's not possible, then okay, I will abide by your rules, because again, I'm just a guest here. I'm not, you know, I'm not like I'm not conquering you. I'm not like I don't know, like, it's just like, it's your playground, it's your rules. So I will try my best to obviously like to follow them, because again, I'm just the guest here. So again, it's not always, but Americans tend to think that because they maybe have more money, then things are not like that, and they can like bend the rule a little bit and bend the rules and be like, hey, but I have more money. Why don't you stay open till, I don't know, 9 if you close at 7? You know, I'm willing to pay you. It's like, no, a lot of places do. Like, your money means nothing to me. Like, it's maybe a matter of principle. It's like, I don't care. Like, take your money. We're not gonna open until like now when an extra hour just because you said it. So like, so it is quite interesting, and I think I like that again, and it's again a rule of life. Maybe people should try to be like less entitled, and maybe you should start to think like, hey, not because someone has more money means that they should deserve like things, or they should deserve things to just bend to their will, or I don't know, they should be treated differently. I like that. I'm a little curious about the fact that apparently, like, if you have money, or if the French people think that you have money, they'll see it as suspicious. I'm like, okay, but why? Like, do they assume that it's not your money, that you just like stole that? I'm curious about that, because it's like, I understand, okay, like, the entitlement part, I already explained it, but again, like, what do you mean is suspicious? Like, why is it suspicious? Some people just have money, so it is like, okay, apparently it is a no. It's like, how come you have money? It's like, and they're not gonna ask you because that's rude, obviously. So it is like, they'll just treat you with a little bit like, so again, it's like, why would you think that it's not my money? I don't know. I'm a little bit confused by that. I love also the dressing up rule that they have, because it's like, again, it's not a rule, I'm aware of it. It's just like, it's nice for them. Like, like she said, like, it's a meal, like going out to dinner. Like, you should dress nice, because it is, I don't know, it's not an event, but I know it's a special occasion. Like, I don't know, because again, meals and, you know, going out, it should be like a nice occasion. So it is like, do not go like straight from the gym, or again, I know that some people don't specifically like, you wear gym clothes and a leisure, but you're not actually, you're not coming like right from the gym all sweaty. Maybe it's just your clothes, because again, you were like, I don't know, at home or whatever. So it is like, you have to make an effort because you're going out to dinner. And again, not all Americans, not always Americans, but usually that's the case with Americans. They tend to be like very casual in how they dress. So not all places, not all cities, not all American citizens, but it happens, and usually it's Americans, because they tend to be more casual. And I like the fact that apparently like they'll like look at you weird if you like are in gym clothes and be like, you have to change. Why are you wearing sneakers? Like, going out for dinner. Like, put on some effort. And I like that they were like, apparently it reflects upon your character. I think it's like, if you're dressed as a slob and you have like just, you're wearing like gym clothes. Like, why are you wearing like such casual clothing? Don't you like yourself? And again, I like also that if you're going out to dinner like with other people, and probably, I don't know if that's the case, but maybe it's just in restaurants. Maybe someone invites you to their home like for dinner, and you show up again in like gym clothes or like sneakers or like a sweatshirt. It's offensive for them, because again, it's like not just of like, you don't really respect yourself, that you don't really respect me as a host. And it's like, you couldn't really make an effort, like not even like to dress up a little bit, because obviously they're not expecting you to put on like a tuxedo, a 3-piece suit, or an elegant like a black tie gown. But you can just make a little effort, because again, it's like, it's an event, and it's nice to dress nice. I don't know, that's just my opinion, and I like that the French apparently like they have the same opinion. Love that. But and I have to say one thing that it's a little surprising. That's probably like the most surprising thing out of this is like the personal questions. I think it depends, because it's like, I think again, it depends on the culture, it depends on the person, it depends on so many different things, on your relationship with the person. And if whether it's like a stranger that you met, I don't know, in the middle of the street, maybe you met them like for in some like in a job environment, or I don't know, it's really dependable on so many variables. So it depends on how personal can things get. It's gonna depend always on what's your relation, what's the nature of your relationship with this person. However, I do think it's quite weird that some, I would say like personal questions and invasive questions, or maybe like, I don't know, just like the ones like, oh, how much do you earn? Or I don't know, personal questions as in like, I don't know, like your personal habits. I don't know, I would maybe consider that, hey, like we're not friends, we're not close. So why is this random stranger asking me these kind of things? However, like what do you do for work? It's like, what do you do for work? It's something that I think it's quite like small talk. To me, that's just like common small talk that you would ask anyone basically in every, if you're trying to fill in, again, you're trying to know someone. It's like, oh, what do you do? Apparently in France, that's not small talk. I was like shocked to my very core, because to me, that's just like normal. That's not a personal question. That's not invasive. I'm not asking you, hey, how much do you earn? Or, what's your paycheck? No, I'm just asking you, hey, like, what do you do for a living? Like, that's just normal. But apparently it isn't. I'm glad that I've watched this, because now I know that, okay, I shouldn't really ask people. Like, it's not good small talk. So I would actually have to like, okay, what kind of other things can I do for like small talk, but not that. Good to know. Love that. And also, I have to say, the one about like speaking very loudly, it's not necessarily, like she said, it's not just like it's a lot of cultures have this. Apparently French people are kind of quiet, which actually surprised me, because I would think they're maybe a little bit like, I don't know, they're a bit louder, but okay, good to know they're not. And she said like it's not embarrassing. Like a lot of people do have that, and even if you do not come from a culture of like speaking loudly, some people are, she said, are excited talkers, and it's like, yes, feels so relatable. So related to that. Yes, I'm sorry, I can't help but be excited if I'm talking, but of course it makes there's levels to it. Obviously, if you are in here and there's someone like, I don't know, in the other table, right to the other end of the restaurant, and they're hearing you speak, like that's, oh come on, like do not do that. But apparently, try to keep the squeals and try to keep the to a minimum. Okay, like that. Good advice. And also the chrysanthemums, which I find very, very funny, because I think that would be a very common faux pas, because it's like if I'm in France, as a tourist, and someone invites me to their house, I would think, oh, well, I'm gonna bring like flowers and maybe like a bottle of wine. Like I would think that's a nice like gift to give to someone that's hosting dinner, or hosting someone, or is having you in their house, in their home. So it is like, and I like those flowers. So I'll be like, oh, what a beautiful bouquet. I would totally get them. So it's like, no, it's just for like for specific occasions of like people dying. It's like, good to know. And I like that it's just something that a lot of people probably like, it's common, I think, for people to do this because, again, it's just like, it's a bouquet. Like, I think it's just like a normal gift, but it's something that I think the knowing of like, don't do this is something that probably only happens if you've been living there for a long time, and then you like do this, and someone approaches you and goes like, you know what, those kind of flowers are not really like good for hosting for a gift. Is for funerals. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. But it's funny that it's like that tells me like you've lived there for a really long time, and someone like has informed you, don't do this. It's like, okay, well, thank you, good to know. But yes, I loved all these little rules, pieces, and there weren't rules, it's just like pieces of advice what not to do in France. And yes, that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.